Hi, I'm Amy Peterson, and I'm the ministry wife, ministry partner for the Oklahoma Baptists. And today I want to share with you a word of encouragement about a topic that many of us struggle with, and it's the topic of anxiety. And it's something that is not easy to talk about always, but it's something that I believe is so prevalent, and that we've got to have conversations that are rooted in the truth. God did not shy away from the topic of anxiety. He addresses it head on in His Word. And Paul tells us in Philippians 4, be anxious for nothing, or do not be anxious for anything. It's a very clear and absolute language there. And so there's no exception clause for you or me. There's no be anxious for nothing, except you might need to be a little anxious for the pandemic in 2020. Except you could be anxious for the getting the disease. You should be anxious for this. This warrants that. No, God says nothing of that. He says, be anxious for nothing. As He looked over all of history, as He looked in your life from beginning to end, He can definitively and clearly say, be anxious for nothing. And in that I have hope. And I'm so grateful. But God's word not only tells us what to do or what not to do, but He shows us how. And encased around that verse, He shows us tools of ways in which we can retrain our thoughts and our brains and our habits to not be anxious. And I want to share two with you today. One of them, He says right before He says, do not be anxious. He says this, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. He was in repeat mode. And anytime that I repeat things, whether it be to my husband or to my kids, it is something that I'm passionate about. It is something that they need to hear. It is something that is very truthful. And so I believe that Paul is saying, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I will say it, rejoice. He's emphasizing the priority of it. And I'm so grateful for that. And to rejoice in the Lord means to me to celebrate who He is, to focus on, to think about, to celebrate and rejoice in Him and all of who He is. He is good, He is kind, He is faithful, He is loving. When I fix my eyes on all of who He is and rejoice in that, all those things that were seemingly overwhelming minimize and lessen as my priority is fixed on who He is. The second thing that I've learned that has really been helpful for me in my anxiety over the last couple of days is to lay my requests before Him, to ask Him for help, to pour out my heart for whatever I'm being anxious about, because He can take it. And as we do those two things, rejoice in all of who He is and pour out our heart to Him, it is amazing the peace that evades my heart. It is amazing the perspective of just reframing my mind and the truth brings because of Jesus. And I hope that if you're struggling with anxiety today, that will be a help for you. And I look forward to seeing what God will do as He is using this season to grow us.